feels like the Oregon days.
You know what? I'm not entirely mad about it yet. But
yes, that's the...
ask me this question, Gio, when we get a little bit further on down the line, when we get into sort of play day 5, play day 6, and if Villa's the new Oregon, then we need to come up with a catchphrase, because Oregon is Morrigan or Boregan, depending on your outlook.
Yeah. Yep.
Get the wheels in motion, get the thinking cap on. We need to come up with one for Villa. We could maybe even include Mancio, as it's called here in Portugal, or in Brazil, in Brazilian Portuguese. Mansao, I'm being told. My pronunciation is horrendous at the best of times. Anyway, let's look toward the bans, because something quite interesting has happened here. Hibana, Flores, and Aruni. Mirror also going to be removed there. Key one that I'm going to be looking toward there, Gio, is going to be the man in the flat cap.
Yeah, Flores, not the first time that we've seen him banned. We did see a Flores ban yesterday. Let me actually check to see if it was either of these two teams who banned. It wasn't MIBR.
I believe it was Black Dragons off the top of my head.
Yeah, it wasn't NIP. So, fresh for these two teams. But yes, we did see a Flores ban yesterday. Again, we've kind of spoken about it a decent amount, with the fact that he is so useful for bringing down a ton of utility to ensure that your opponent can't bring utility down with such relative ease. Is really huge. And actually, interestingly, seeing Muzi bring along Ashe, who has received a nerf. She has 1 fewer breaching charge. Most people playing Ashe these days are going to be playing her with the G36C instead of the R4C, because the R4C got nerfed, and a lot of people were very upset about it. But, you know, part of it might just be because Muzi feels comfortable on the operator. But it is still interesting, because over the last couple of days, we have seen other operators be brought instead of her for the utility removal and for the soft destruction. And having a Flores ban may have influenced that decision for NIP here.
Quite possibly. Flores already enough of a threat to be banned is impressive enough in itself, in the way that these teams have chosen to use that utility. It does make things interesting, because things like Thatcher become available, but we've got quite... Well, I guess we've got far from a typical lineup from the side of NIP, as they're not only bringing the Iana, but they're also bringing the Ying. They're two operators that I kind of bundle into the you may want to bring one package, whereas NIP are doubling down and they're saying, no, we're going to bring one of each here, and it does start to get a little bit scary when you worry about what they are going to try and bring with that aggression.
The Twitch poll has just appeared on your screens, and unsurprisingly, most of the audience are predicting NIP to win this one. A 66 to 34%. I say, given the performance of both these teams yesterday, you can't really fault anyone for thinking that. And Pino is thanking everybody who voted for them by getting the opening kill.
Already we're seeing some quick fire action, as almost as predicted. NIP are taking this one by the horns. A flawless round will ensue for them off the back of Ying's Candelas, and obviously hooking through the window over on Amaru. They brought the aggression there, Gio.
Yeah. I'm not shocked. That's how they played yesterday. And when you think of the fact that in Siege, oftentimes before you get to the point at which you want to be turning on the aggression, there's a lot of things you have to clear, a lot of space you have to gain. NIP yesterday against Liquid made that look like child's play. You know, they were so fast at taking the space that they required to actually push in onto a site, and the same thing was done in that last round there. MIBR are going to go back to the same site of Aviator Games, or AVG, as you hear people say it colloquially. And I suppose, you know, thinking that they can do something different. NIP will actually be doing something different as well, as they've decided to 6-pick out their Ashe and bring in an IQ instead. Kind of interesting, because you don't typically see IQ get played a ton, except in specialist situations. Maybe they're anticipating a Valkyrie being brought in, as Valkyrie wasn't banned, and MIBR, perhaps they're thinking, oh, well, they didn't have much information on where we were as attackers, so they're going to bring some. But MIBR actually haven't decided to do that at all. In fact, have their operators changed at all?
No, I think the most changes really have been on the side of NIP, where we've gotten rid of the Amaru, we've gotten rid of the Ying, and of course the Ashe, and we've gone for a much more typical lineup that you would tend to expect. You know, you've got the good old-fashioned Thatcher, you've got a bit of hard breach in there. Kamikaze still clutching on to the Ace. Is obviously known for playing Thermite for what feels like years. And then Thermite gets the smokes back, so there's a specific reason as to why Ace is being played here, and I would imagine it's because you're going to be able to get that wall open from a little bit more distance. You don't have to fully commit into study to start opening up that wall and to place the Selma charges. You can do that from a little bit of a distance away.
I was just going to say that this is actually the second round in a row that they've brought an operator who specifically brings smokes as well to make up for the fact that Ace no longer has that, so they don't have to bring a Hibana. Well, I guess Hibana got banned, so they don't have much of a choice, but it does make up for that.
Yeah, the Twitch bringing the smokes down. In fact, Psycho's actually used both already. Not sure where they've been deployed, unless they were in an attempt, potentially, to burn something, but it would seem like maybe a little bit of a waste, although looking at the lineup, there isn't a great deal of burn on that lineup for NIP. They're not bringing any flashbangs at all. They've only really got the lifeline of Zafir that can sort of fulfill that purpose and role.
You know, holding on to one of the holes to see vertically, but so far, not much pressure has been applied to any of the specific players of MIBR. Still key areas being held. Raps going in for a peek just to see if anybody's out on the south balcony, but I would argue that's maybe a bit of a risk. Does he know that Psycho is right outside of the study window, though? Nice opening kill from Felipox onto Muzi, and Raps may get caught out here if he's not careful.
Controller, by the way, for Felipox. Psycho there, fortunately, able to get rid of that C4 as, you know, will eventually swing on and find that refrag. 45 seconds or so remain. We still have players from MIBR in these power positions on side of 90 and entrenched into the site. Psycho yet to make a little bit of progress, but Pino, he's going to aggress here up these main stairs. Able to vault the shield and further push on down. Oh, he doesn't know his luck. He was going for the default camera, but the crosshair placement was perfect from Pino. Well, that is almost certainly going to be a round for NIP. Julio's going to swing by and pick up the final frag. A lot of stars aligning there for NIP.
I actually really like the coordination that NIP exhibited in that round, even though it was really late in the round that they did any kind of execute. Where Psycho was and the patience of his position there on the study window, it meant that once he killed Raps, or actually you could argue once he shot the C4, so it definitely told MIBR he was there. You then immediately knew, if you're the player who's over on main stairs, that somebody is watching you, because that's the whole point of that study window line of sight, right? Is that you can see straight down into top main. So at that point, if you're the player on main stairs, you want to bear in mind that there is someone on the study window. And NIP used that perfectly to their advantage to push Pino up the main stairs. There weren't any shields there. In fact, there was really no protective utility at all on the side of MIBR to stop that push from happening. So it meant that while you had that defender distracted, NIP could perfectly coordinate that to ensure that the kill was taken by Pino. And then that is when the push through Classical Hall happened, and you can just make your way straight in onto the site. So it was really simple, kind of subtle, and kind of helped out by the fact that MIBR hadn't really reinforced the main stairs area with a lot of utility. But it worked very well for NIP, especially given the fact that there was not that much time remaining on the round.
NIP seems to be answering a lot of the questions that we've posed to them, Gio, over the months of, oh, you're very slow on attack, you know, what's going on here? Like, that felt like, whilst it was, yes, it was a slower round, the execute was perfect, and it wasn't slow for the sake of being slow. It was slow because they took time to get themselves into position and gather that information. The first round, lightning quick, seemingly unnecessarily so. They just decided to take a little bit of aggression, and, you know, what does that do for the mental other side of MIBR straight away? It's going to put you in the shed, isn't it? You know, you've just been rolled over by an Amaru and a Ying. All of a sudden, NIP have gone for like a very typical lineup, and they've just slowly and methodically taking you down piece by piece. And MIBR are now sat in a position where they're like, right, we've really got to try and get some defensive rounds here because this is Villa, and that's the way that Villa should be played.
This is the first time now that MIBR have chosen to go to a different site as they've headed up to the north of Trophy Statuary. For Leapox to be the first kill, but actually early engagements here, quite unlike the previous round. It puts it in a 3 versus 3 already, Ollie.
Again, some quick fire action, but this time not resulting in the round being closed out. Oh, Reduct. Arguably a careless rotate, but he's not to know that Kamikaze is going to be watching in from Master Bedroom there. Kamikaze able to destroy that Goyo shield as well, as was placed with the gas canister facing him. Val's going to pick up a beautiful shot where with the SMG-11 could try and revive his teammate. Lukid could be a big difference maker here. Has a yellow ping to try and work with. Going to try and go for the swing now. It's a freebie over onto Muzi. Julio now in the 1 versus 2. Redux still hasn't been revived. Got to give Julio the respect in these situations as well. We saw him clutch a couple of big rounds yesterday. Player that's more than capable of it. Now confirmed in the 1 versus 2 as Redux falls. He's searching out for the player. Vertical angles are going to help him somewhat. Looking to jump over the top rail, but thinks better of it for the time being. A Toxic Babe canister going to give him an indication as to where Fowls is going to be playing. Lukid looking to make the rotation up Astro Stairs as well to really try and assist. EMP to go out. Pre-fires his way on in. Not working off any intel for the time being. Plenty of drones are remaining, but one enough for a yellow ping. Pre-fires through. Just narrowly missing out there on the headshot. There is going to be a drone inside of Astro that's going to be able to ping something for him, but how much use can he make of it? Goes for a full challenge onto the shield. Beautifully played by Lukid. What a rotation underneath from East Stairs onto Astronomy to back up his teammate and to pick up MIBR's first round.
Yeah, that was really nice because Julio was very much aware that there was someone playing down on those red stairs. And when you saw him move over into Trophy, he had to do it very quickly because there was, of course, a risk that he could straight up be flanked. So the fact that Lukid went round there, if you're Julio, you don't entirely know if there's someone behind you or if they've got 2 players up in front of you. You don't know that that rotation has been made. And it was played really nicely as well. There was such limited information, maybe even nothing for NIP. And you try and hold all these different angles, not entirely sure where anyone is. And MIBR, very patient, very calculated in the way that they went about that and put their first round on the board. That's going to make them feel, I suppose, confident enough to actually return back to AVG, which I'd say is something of a risk, just given how well NIP have played on this site on the attack in rounds 1 and 2. But MIBR clearly feel good about it. And I think one of the things that is leading to them to that is the fact they've put Lukid on the Valkyrie now. They have that extra information. They've also brought Philippox on Legion. So the goo mine should prevent a push being as successful as NIP have done previously. And even if all of those black eye cameras get shot out or found, that still means the time would have had to have been taken by Psycho to get rid of them and to hunt them out.
Let's see if that's going to be the start of a couple of rounds here for MIBR as they've got a taste of a round here and see if it's something that they can try and repeat. NIP again going to be going with that kind of similar to the first line they brought. They've gone back for the Ash. Muzi opting for Ash here on this site. I imagine at this point it's kind of personal preference as to what he plays and what they're going to try and do. Pino, he loves these angles downstairs in live, and we regularly see him be able to pick up kills. And the patience that he exhibits playing in those spots is usually pretty impressive, as he's more than happy to wait for a long period of time just watching the singular angle. He's going to be holding him from below as well and keeping him covered. Reduct, he went fishing and he got himself caught. He's going to get taken on down, and it's just going to increase the pressure and the potential these reverse verticals angles have. Muzi's still going to be able to keep an eye on not only the bottom of main, but the bottom of east as well.
really well for NIP to be using those black eyes to their advantage to help them out. But Psycho's going to be the next one to fall. DB and Odin quickly finished up. And Falls is so narrow on the health he has left. He's going to try and prevent a push up the main stairs by using the Toxic Babe canisters. And maybe that'll give him enough time to get away to some relative safety. Pino finally finishes him off, though. He doesn't last very long. And MIBR waiting for the man count. Luke having to take that position towards the top of main stairs, but he's going to get droned out and has to back off towards the site.
Now we're going to see the study wall start to be open. Luke misses a chance. The player on the reverse, and that player is going to be Muzi as he looks to make a rotation on up. Raps could be in a position to do something about this, though. Nice barricade placed there on the trophy door. It's going to force the player into the rotate and potentially into the line of sight, but Muzi could be coming for a little bit of a cut-off and isn't exactly going to play into that as well as MIBR would potentially like. Now the wall has been opened, it makes the site a pretty dangerous place to be. Pino has a chance to push down long as Luca does have an angle. There is one of the panels that hasn't been reinforced and there's some footholds in there for him. Can he pre-fire on through? No, Pino! He's going to be able to pick up that frag. He gets a headshot directly over onto Luke. Felipox has a lot of work to do here. He's going to be 1 versus 4. Picks himself up 1, but it was always going to be an extraordinarily tall order. Pino able to just flood on through games. Pick that final frag. And IP looking dangerous here on the attack.
Pino, like a parasite, just forced his way into MIBR and sucked their life force out. He got so much of the value for NIP in that round, and they just seemed to pick apart MIBR at every single moment. And this is kind of one of the things that we noted when MIBR played against FaZe yesterday, was that in some ways they were easier to pick apart because people were separate. You know, and you can find one guy, you give yourself some space, you move on up, you find the next guy. I think it didn't help as well that there were some certain moments in that where players from MIBR narrowly saw someone from NIP or just missed them. I'm thinking, for example, Luke looking down in the holes through the floor into library, and it causes you to miss those opportunities. But also when the gunfire comes towards them, they run away. They're not taking the engagements. And that could be considered a smart idea, but also on the other hand, it could be considered almost like conceding that you don't think you're going to win that gunfight, which is never the best way to go into one. So I think at this point, MIBR are going to have to just accept that NIP are going to beat them at AVG. They're just, don't go back there. And so they haven't.
It's a tough pill to swallow as well because AVG is a site that's very defensible and you would expect to be able to pick up rounds there. But MIBR are going to try and switch things up. Take us downstairs into kitchen. See if they can force out a little bit more of a roam clear potentially from NIP, or if NIP are maybe going to go for a bit more of a direct approach. MIBR are certainly stacking the site somewhat. Fleapox looks risky. Whatever it is that you're doing, getting yourself down into the basement. I don't think he was anticipating to see the window directly open, and I imagine he didn't see the drone that was on the ledge. It's going to only give a small amount of intel over toward NIP, and it's often a fool's errand to chase a defender around the basement all too much. There's a lot of places you can find value there. Reduct forced already to drop on off. Pino, he's trying to pad that opening engagement stat, Geo.
I don't blame him. But, yeah, so far, no opening engagements have been rounded out. All 10 men still standing in the server. MIBR have changed a lot about what it is they're bringing through. They've not decided to lean on the Valkyrie this time. Instead, going more for the denial with the good old Mute Mozzie. Everyone loves a bit of that. A lot of presence downstairs on the site as well for MIBR, and you can see those blue silhouettes of the NIP players just floating around above them. Muzi getting finally the first kill as he brings Falls down, is looking down for more prey, but he does narrowly miss someone just roaming below him.
Pino got an opportunity here. Oh, you get the feeling that he just had a glimpse of the head and is just playing this one nice and patiently. Really conscious of just working that angle. And IP still got a ton of time here. Over a minute remains. Still trying to force out these players from this top floor, and then they can start to look to work vertically and work on down. Pino eventually will be rewarded for his patience as he picks up a frag over onto Felipox.
That is so low. Raps has got 1 HP, SMG 11 out. There's a C4, but it doesn't quite catch anybody. And MIBR are acutely aware that they're surrounded by these members of NIP. 2 kills coming in for them leaves just Lukid on his own.
30 seconds to try and stay alive, keep NIP from planting the diffuser. Psycho sees a little bit of team damage there. Lukid has the chance at a couple of frags here, but then with the P10 Roni, it's never a nice weapon. Very short magazine count, going to make things super difficult. Probably got caught out there visually, but Pino, he always seemingly in the right place at the right time. Perfectly positioned to pick up that final frag. Almost. Oh, in fact, it was. Was it a flawless round? Didn't flash up with flawless round, but it felt like it was a flawless.
Oh, I thought it came up with it.
Maybe I missaw. I don't recall anybody on the side of NIP dying, and if so, it would be their second flawless round.
Yeah, and if anybody watched Playday #1 yesterday and they saw the devastation that NIP caused in the camp of Team Liquid and wondered, I wonder if this is going to be a consistent thing or if it's a one-off, I think we're starting to get our answer here, Ollie. NIP don't look like they're going to slow down at all. So far, they're looking pretty good. The way that they can just surround a team, pick them off one by one. One of the big problems, though, in that round that MIBR, oh my god.
We had this last time they played.
I remember having this problem in stage 2 where I kept saying NIBR and MIP. Anyway, the problem that MIBR had there is I think so much of their defense was based downstairs. So they gave NIP the top floor for free. That's really peculiar to me because NIP will be able to take those engagements from above. They'll have utility, they'll have guns, they'll have the holes in the floor. You're just all kind of running around like rats below them. They'll gradually be able to bip you. But if you're not based upstairs and you're not making it hard for them there, how are you providing resistance to them? Or how are you telling them that you're willing to provide resistance to them? That's my worry with MIBR here, is they're not playing like the team we know them to be. They're not playing like they feel as if they're going to beat NIP. They're playing like they think NIP are going to win.
I think there's probably a lot going on mentally for MIBR as well. Obviously, Felipox isn't going to be playing at full force today. And that's going to do something to restrict and hold them back as a lineup in terms of what he was capable of doing. Now, it's going to be more specific to the kill department. You look at who he's playing. He's going to be playing the Legion. It's not like he's playing somebody that's got C4s or smokes or something that's going to require a little bit of precision. You can throw a goo mine down, you can throw an impact grenade, and it is what it is with a controller. It's not necessarily something that is all too difficult or all too technical, and the T5 a decent gun as well. So they're obviously trying to put him in a position where he can succeed, and narrowly, I think, missing out there on that impact trick. Kamikaze throwing in his last Selma now, trying to get that wall on open. It just cuts the sight in half.
Fleabug's trying to hold on to a narrow angle through towards the bathroom and the closet. But I would imagine that if anyone is to jump in through there, then Fleabug's may get caught out. But he just wants to make sure there are no drones, be able to, at the very least, pass on information. And he can't stand in front of the statuary wall because, as you mentioned, it's been open. It cuts the sight in half. It leaves Fleabug's very limited on his positioning. Psycho, a nice nade onto him. So it doesn't take long to clear out that position. And I'd imagine that NIP now can control all of red stairs, landing, statuary, whatever it is they might want. Raps is trying to shoot through into the master bedroom, but it's not going to stop Muzi from getting a kill on Falls.
Muzi able now to push up Astronomy as well. Luke is going to be playing at the top of red stairs. Reduct. Lengthy rotation for a 3 armor to be making. Especially when there's the potential of Muzi out there on the flank, but it could be who he has in mind. Is it going to be a little bit too little too late, though? That's the big question, as a kill flies in either direction. Still leaves us a 2 versus 4, but not for long. Lukid he now has to go huge. Again, 30 seconds remain here for NIP to get the job done, and they're in a 3 versus 1 advantage. Lucid isn't sitting on a great deal of health. Muzi, he's going to be the player to find the final kill. MIBR struggling again here on the defense, losing the control of Master Bedroom, allowing the wall to be open so freely. And the rest of the round, well, it goes exactly the way you would expect. A 5-1 split. Now, we saw this yesterday, Gio. NIP were able to pick up a lion's share of their rounds on the attack of Clubhouse as well.
Yeah, and they only needed then 2 rounds on the defense to take, which they did absolutely fine with really no issue against Liquid. I was just having a look at that to just check which side they started on. Yeah, they started on the attack that time too. And the attack has always historically been the side where we've had the most questions for NIP, and it doesn't seem to be something that's relevant anymore at all. I think a lot of the concerns that we had with NIP last stage, totally out the window now. And I don't want to say this is like a completely new team, because this is, you know, that team is the same team that won SI. It's the same team we see now. It's the same roster. It's the same team that have really performed in the past, who came second in SI 2020. You know, it's not like this has ever been a team that has fallen short on a really big level, but they certainly didn't come in the standings of stage 1 where we thought they might. And they made mistakes, and they had certain plays that just didn't always look so sharp as they could have been. But we just can't say that anymore. That is not the case here. NIP look like they are very awake, very on point, hyper aware of everything that is going, and they're not falling short on that just yet. Just 2 rounds they need to recreate their 7-war scoreline that they achieved yesterday. And all they would need after that then, Ollie, is to do the same to FaZe Clan, and they would have guaranteed that they are the most dominant out of the top 4 here in Brazil.
It's the trifecta, isn't it, really,
exactly,
that NIP are going to be looking for here, and there isn't a lot that's going to stand in their way, especially with the way that they're playing at the moment. It really is a case that we can't be criticising them on how long they spend on their attacks anymore, because they have been really a pleasure to watch. Now they're on the defense, and we've got to see how they want to try and deal with this. Now, it's no surprise to my mind that NIP were the team to ban Flores when you look at how much investment has gone on here onto this main stairs. 2 magnets, more regenerating in Psycho's pocket, ready for him to throw out as and when. 3 ADSs and a deployable shield. But with Thatcher available, it does make those a little less valuable. In-pocket magnet going to come in clutch and keep him alive for a little time longer, but he's getting chipped away at. He will expose himself briefly from behind that shield. Muzi trying to join on into the action now as well, and desperate to try and assist. Lucid with a nade, could be looking to try and get it on up. Still, Thatcher or not, it has taken a long time to remove that shield.
I love that Muzi came down, because they could just hold on to both those lines of sight, but then also having the discipline to back off so that when the nade got sent, they weren't in immediate harm's way. Still, so far, anyone is yet to be taken down, and MIBR hunting around on the bottom floor, wanting to see if any of the players from NIP are down there, but of course looking for the vertical control that you can gain by being down below the site. Now, the Jackal should be able to give them some information, but you can tell that Pyjamas having an effect on that. Finally, Julio gets the opening kill onto Raps. He's looking to be one of their entries. So, caught out in an opening engagement, but not the way they want. And Lucid may find himself getting caught out here if Julio continues to look down below, but I'm not entirely sure. Ooh, he's being surrounded. Julio, is he going to be able to do it? He's got to deal with 2 people, 1 above, 1 below. He gets the first one, and then he immediately turns around, but he can't quite secure the second. 2 kills go to MIBR. It's a 3 versus 2.
1,000 Fleapox. Have to try and make something happen here. Fleapox has been able to smoke on through. Will be able to recover the diffuser. Gets caught out in the Toxic Babe gas. Finds a pocket of safety and looks to try and confirm that plant. 5 seconds left. It is not going to go down. It was so close, but a C4 from below from Pino will be enough. Fouls. He finds an impactless frag. But ultimately, the round will be remembered as an NIP one. And that puts them on to a match point.
I didn't even see who it was who was the final NIP player, but all they had to do was literally back off. You know, you're on the other side of the wall, the attacker is trying to peek around the side, you know that you've got like, what, 1-2 seconds before the victory is yours, should you survive? Just back off, dude, and that's exactly what he did. So even though there were a lot of backwards and forwards kills throughout the remainder of the round, when it comes down to something like that, as a defender, it can be so easy to just disengage and ensure you take the win. Well, NIP could ensure that they take the win for the entire thing, because they are just one round off of winning everything. To trophy and statue, they go, and they're trying to bait MIBR into thinking that they're going to be playing some kind of a roam, given that there was the 6 pick off of Vigil, but instead, Psycho going over to Echo, who's almost the entire opposite of what you would expect from a roamer. Echo pretty much sits in that same category with Smoke as your anchor, can provide denial. The yokai drones give the extra information, but can of course be direct plant denial, just as the Toxic Babe canisters can as well. So the whole idea here is to make it virtually impossible for MIBR to be able to push onto the site itself, even if they manage to pick off someone like Muzi, who will likely be playing off the site, at least at the start.
7-1, 7-1. Question mark for NIP. The first 2 games inside of Stage 2. Certainly looking that it could go that way. MIBR have a lot of work to do here. We commented at the time yesterday, Gio, about fouls and the fact that he was struggling on that opening engagement, and we're seeing him with a very similar story here and now. Sure, kills aren't everything, but Raps does fulfill that entry role on the side of MIBR, and he's a player that has been consistently shut down here in this game and yesterday. So, something to try and keep an eye on and see if that does become a little bit more of a consistent problem. You really want your entry to be at least going equal and being able to gain you some advantage in a couple of the rounds, because MIBR really aren't in a position of strength at the minute to be fighting back when things aren't really going their favour. Now, we talk of Raps, and it looks as though he's going to be entering on into basement. Pino certainly got the notification that that is the case. Lion scan, but I don't believe any Jackal track as of yet, so no immediate danger or pressure, but we speak about the entry, Geo. Raps falls again. Pino, he's going to chalk another one up.
The way that NIP have actually set up this wall in the bathroom closet is so cruel, because it tells MIBR they can't even walk into closet because they've got an open line of sight. That's why they're taking the time to drone out all the way through to Astro, because they need to ensure that anyone over there who could hold the line of sight is removed. There's the shield that's been pinged out, and Julio's now been spotted behind it. You know, just getting ready with the pre-placed C4, and it gets its victim. Can't quite get the kill onto the next enemy. It's Felipox to get the trade, so that's good for MIBR, but they're still at the disadvantage.
Is it too little too late? You've lost a lot of your soft destruction there. You've lost a set of grenades. There's a minute left. It's going to make it extremely difficult now to try and make something happen. Julio, he picks himself too. The Toxic Babe gas giving him a helping hand. FMG9, the other Reduct, is likely going to get pinched here. I thought Julio was just going to walk straight on through. Nobody expects anybody to be prone. Julio, a huge final 3 kills to finish things off. NIP, another 7-1 here tonight.
Oh, they just look like a monolith here in Brazil. Not only proving that they're the best team in the world, but they're proving that they are not going to let go of that title anytime soon. You can wrench it away from their cold, dead hands, but in order for their hands to be cold and dead, you got to beat them first. And so far in Stage 2, none of these top teams have been able to do it. A second